Welcome back to In History. Today, we're diving into the Fifth Crusade, a fascinating and often overlooked chapter in the story of the Crusades. This campaign was filled with bold ambitions, hard-fought battles, and, ultimately, missed opportunities. So let's explore the twists and turns of the Fifth Crusade and see how it all played out. The Fifth Crusade was launched in 1217, just 30 years after the infamous Fourth Crusade had ended with the sack of Constantinople. Pope Innocent III, who had recently passed away, initially inspired this crusade, and his successor, Pope Honorius III, took up the mantle. Their goal was to reclaim Jerusalem and other holy sites from Muslim control, but this time with a twist. The focus would be on Egypt, seen as a strategic route to Jerusalem. Unlike previous crusades, this one was a true European coalition. Armies from Austria, Hungary, and Germany, joined by forces from the Italian city-states and France, set out to fulfill the Pope's vision. However, this crusade faced significant logistical challenges. It was organized with the hope of bringing unity, but it quickly became clear that not all leaders shared the same priorities. In 1217, the Crusaders set sail for the Holy Land, arriving first in the Kingdom of Jerusalem to prepare for their campaign against Egypt. During this time, they faced constant delays and resource challenges. The Venetians, who had played a pivotal role in the Fourth Crusade, were involved again, providing transportation but also complicating matters with their own interests. By 1218, the Crusaders were ready to advance on their primary target, the Egyptian port city of Damietta. Securing Damietta was seen as a way to control access to the Nile and, ultimately, to Cairo. If they could control Egypt, they believed they could trade it for Jerusalem. The siege of Damietta was one of the defining moments of the Fifth Crusade. In May 1218, the Crusaders began their attack. The city was heavily fortified and defended by Muslim forces under the command of Sultan al-Kamil. The Crusaders faced fierce resistance, but after a long and brutal siege, they finally captured Damietta in November 1219. The siege of Damietta began in 1218, with Crusader forces constructing elaborate siege works along the banks of the Nile. The city was a fortress protected not only by stone walls, but by its strategic location along the river. Sultan al-Kamil, recognizing the importance of Damietta, prepared for a long and grueling defense. Early on, the Crusaders were met with a surprising challenge. A massive chain stretched across the Nile, blocking their access to the city's main gates. But the Crusaders had come prepared. Engineers from Europe designed massive floating siege towers, allowing them to breach the defenses from the river. In fierce clashes on the water, they managed to dismantle the chain and gain a foothold. Inside the city, Damietta's residents and defenders faced their own trials. Starvation began to set in as supplies dwindled. Sultan al-Kamil tried to relieve the city multiple times, but his forces were repelled by the relentless Crusaders. Disease soon spread through the camps, impacting both sides heavily. Yet, despite the hardships, the Crusaders were resolute, holding out through months of brutal fighting. Taking Damietta was a huge victory, but it came at a high cost. The siege lasted nearly a year and took a toll on the Crusader forces. Supplies were dwindling, and tension between the various leaders began to surface. However, with the city under their control, the Crusaders hoped they could negotiate for Jerusalem. With Damietta captured, Sultan al-Kamil offered the Crusaders a deal. He proposed returning Jerusalem along with other Christian holy sites in exchange for the Crusaders leaving Egypt. This was a huge opportunity, but it wasn't that simple. Some leaders, including Pelagius, the papal legate, wanted a total victory over Egypt. They believed they could secure both Jerusalem and Egypt. Unfortunately, this refusal to accept the Sultan's offer was a turning point. Had they taken the deal, the Fifth Crusade might have achieved its goal. Instead, the Crusaders chose to march toward Cairo, hoping to conquer more territory and strengthen their bargaining position. This decision would prove disastrous. In July 1221, the Crusaders set out for Cairo. However, they were unprepared for the annual Nile flood. The flooding trapped the Crusader army, and with Al-Kamil's forces encircling them, they were soon cut off from supplies. Starving and desperate, they had no choice but to surrender. Al-Kamil agreed to let the Crusaders go free, but only if they relinquished Damietta and vowed to leave Egypt. Thus, after 4 years of struggle and sacrifice, the Fifth Crusade ended with little to show for it. The failure to capitalize on earlier victories sealed the fate of the Crusaders. The Fifth Crusade had long-term consequences. It weakened European morale, underscored the challenges of crusading in Egypt, and marked a significant setback in the efforts to reclaim Jerusalem. The Crusade also highlighted the difficulty of maintaining a unified command, as well as the complexities of medieval politics and diplomacy. Ultimately, the Fifth Crusade stands as a tale of missed opportunities and ambitious goals that were never fully realized. It's a reminder of how the Crusaders' dreams of conquest clashed with the harsh realities of war in a foreign land. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below on what ancient mystery you'd like us to explore next. Until next time, keep seeking knowledge. See you next time on In History.